realised that was the thing that I was curious about, but was really important to me. Our day was a family. I've got to control my own diary. Oh yes, but the great thing about your industry is that it won't be impacted by AI. And I thought, my God, like it's absolutely how investment turns, and people are like, oh yeah, well we'll look at your industry now because it's not going to be impacted. It's AI resilient. But actually AI is really helping so much in my own business. There's some of the software and apps that it's writing in 10 days, 2 weeks, and then trialing over 6 weeks are things that we have to pay a fortune for historically. It's really is a big game changer for efficiency. Because I've got quite a strong legal background, even just using our open claw, call him Bob, helper, AI helper. I reckon he saved me 30 or 40 grand in the last 3 months on legal fees alone. Really? But I have a strong legal background, so I'm able to sense check a lot of it. But I think when used right, and if you actually have got some of the experience, I think it is it is an incredible time to be in business right now, I think.
Agreed. Maybe before we open up to the audience for some questions, let's end on throughout your journey, the huge successes, the media, the TV stuff, the businesses, multiple exits, being a mum, really busy life, valuing your time, being ruthless, all of those things. What's your top 3 things that you would share with young people, anybody wanting to get into business?
So, firstly, the amount of people that I meet that have got a great idea, but they'll never do it, because you get to that point where you've got kind of paralysis and you just can't take action because of the fear of failure or the fear of not doing it right, or there's 1,000 reasons why you can't take that next step forward, and they go, oh, I need to get investment, I can't do this, can't do that. Actually, I would say there is always a way. So find it, take that step forward, and just make the first sale. Just do the first thing. So that I would always say, and if you're stuck in a point in your business where you think you can't grow anymore, unlock that, unpick that, why is that, and then take that next step forward and prove to yourself. And it might be wrong, but what's the worst that can happen? If you can handle your downside, take that step forward and do it again. And then somebody said to me, that guy actually is still in my phone, is Yoda, in my 20s, he said the best piece of advice he was ever given was surround yourself with brilliant people. And at the time I thought, well, yeah, that's great, really obvious. But actually, he was so right that was the best piece of advice he was ever given. And it's back to that point of not needing to ever have the answer, just knowing who to ask, knowing that there's a question and knowing who to ask, and surrounding yourself with brilliant people I couldn't have done anything without the number of phone calls I make on a weekly basis to people that I know are just better at certain things than I am and are just great as a sense check. And then the third thing for me is I've always stayed very true to my why, like why I do something. And so much of that has been about, I've made the decisions to become an entrepreneur and then actually to sell my first business. All of that was driven by being a mom, and it was very, very, very important to me. And I would be full of regret if I'd have not prioritised that now. I know I would. And I'm really glad that I prioritise and still do. Of course, they're a bit older now, so it's easier, so I can actually do more,
too busy on YouTube, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've stayed very true to my why, I think.
That's an important message, because I think, I was going to say, a lot of people at the start of the journey, the goal in, don't they? And often family life, fitness, time for themselves gets put on the back burner because they're in the pursuit of the business, the success, the money, the whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so I think what you said there is, it's most people who I meet who've done a lot reflect and say, well, that's the most important thing, right?
I think there's a reason they say put your own oxygen mask on first, right? And it's, for me, I'm proudly selfish. Does that make, and I mean that really positively. I think it's really important that you have to look after yourself. And I know that, if I don't exercise, or I don't walk, or I don't spend time with my kids, or I don't get to cook, which I love doing, I know I'm going to be awful at everything else. I will feel it inside. I won't be brilliant. And I now know, I'm 52, so I've got the benefit of a lot of hindsight, but I now know that that is so critical to every aspect of my life, to how I lead a business, to how I show up to a board meeting, to how I show up to an event with a friend. All of that's really important, that if I haven't looked after myself, the rest of it starts to crumble.
Affects the rest.
So I now, I don't think when we talk about being selfish, I think it should be a really positive thing. Obviously, it shouldn't be to the detriment of others, but when you look after yourself, that's a good thing.
Honestly, I think it's a great message, because like I say, so many people don't want to sacrifice the other stuff in the pursuit of the thing.
Yeah.
But actually, you'll probably do the thing better if you do that.
100% you will.
At the start, but sometimes I think people think it's counterproductive to do that and take time away from work for yourself.
But it's even
less, right?
It's even days like this. I was talking to somebody out there when we were just getting a coffee. Days like this where probably a lot of people in the room were like, "Oh, I've got so much on, and I need to do this." But actually, you've taken the day, and you've taken the day to be looking at your business rather than spending the day in your business, surrounded by like-minded people. And even if you take one thing away from today, you're going to be so much better tomorrow than you would have been if you'd have just stayed doing the same thing.
Definitely.
And I always think that you never regret doing it. You never ever regret taking the time, ever. You don't regret the weekend away. You don't regret the surrounding yourself with like-minded people. You don't regret going to an event. You don't regret listening to people. You don't regret the things that take your head out of the daily grind, ever, because it does make you better tomorrow. And I think it's important that we do it. And I commend everybody in here for, turning up to an event like this, where actually everybody will walk away with at least one thing, which is great.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. Let's do some questions. Actually, one more, just because quite a few people have asked me to ask you this. From a female perspective, what, like, a lot of people are saying it's stressful being a woman. Obviously it is. What advice would you give, right, for the women in the audience, running businesses, busy careers, busy lives, as well as being mums? What would you say to the females in the audience?
Firstly, you're all brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think one of the things that I notice more and more with women, and this is a gross generalisation, but it is from my experience, is that often that lack of belief in themselves to sort of step forward. And some of the most amazing people I have met, worked with, spoken to, have been women. And we are great at multitasking and great at getting a lot of stuff done. And it is that having that belief in yourself that's so important. I was in just really quick story. And it was the most powerful thing that ever happened to me as a woman. But actually, it's not. This isn't unique to women at all. So this could work for others. When I was in my 20s, and when I was doing this job, when I was working for the board of Pizza Express that we talked about before, we were buying Kettners in Soho, and I was leading the project. And I'd gone to the meeting in Soho, and I was 2 minutes late, because I'm always 2 minutes late for everything. And apparently the least stressed people are actually always 2 minutes late for everything. But anyway.
I'm just pointing at my wife there because she's late for absolutely everything.
I'm always 2 minutes late for everything. So I turned up, and as I walked into the room, our team was on this side of the table, and their team was on the opposite side of the table, and the lawyer for the people Kettner's group was sat opposite, and he didn't even look up, and I must have been 27, I think, at the time, 26, 27, and he didn't even look up, and he went, "Oh, thank God for that, mine's white with 1 sugar." And so I put my bag down and walked round and said, "Would anybody else like a coffee?" And I made him his coffee. Nobody else breathed, funnily enough. Made him his coffee, put the coffee in front of him, made myself a coffee and sat back down, and then said, so shall we start the meeting now? And I watched the colour drain from this guy's face in front of me. And it was such a powerful moment for me, and to happen early on in my work life, because up until that point, I'd walked into rooms fearing that I would be completely underestimated. You know, that I was just Sarah the Small from Stoke, and like, what was I doing here? And everyone was going to work me out and all of that. And who walked out with the deal in that meeting? Of course it was me. Of course it was, because he had completely underestimated me.
Yeah.
And he was totally on the back foot. And it was so powerful, and it never left me, because it made me walk into rooms thinking, God, I hope everybody underestimates me. You know, I hope they do, because it made me realize that my superpower actually in that moment had been because the fact that he'd underestimated me. And I think as a woman working, growing up in the 90s, that was it was such an incredible thing to have happened to me really early on, that it never left me. So yeah, I always say to anybody who walks into a room and thinks maybe this is the moment you're going to get found out, or I'm being underestimated, to remind everybody that that's actually their superpower, so let them.
Use it as an advantage.
They're the dickheads, not you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Do a couple of questions. Has anybody got a question for Sarah? Put your hand up if so. Raj, you were first there, mate.
Hiya. Say that again.
In terms of resilience, do you think resilience is something you can work on and build like a muscle? Or do you think you just got it? And how do you recommend it?
I think it's a very, very good question. I think, I think there's an element of wiring, so like nature, but I think of so many of the traits, it is nurture. And I think you can teach yourself resilience. You can also have it knocked into you, actually, or knocked out of you in life. Part of your reaction to it is your wiring, I think. But I absolutely believe, yes, it's something that you can learn. And I have seen people grow from experience. And that is, the more we step outside of our comfort zone and force ourselves to step outside of our comfort zone, the more resilient we get. Because as we step outside of the comfort zone, even if it doesn't work and you can force yourself to do it again, each time you do it and your comfort zone expands, you become more resilient, because the experience shows you that you tried something and you might have failed, but you still picked yourself back up again. So yes, I think resilience is something you can force yourself to learn and to be better at by forcing yourself outside of your comfort zone. I really believe that.
Love it. Anybody else? Any other questions? This guy, straightforward with the zip on.
This question is twofold. What would your advice be to successful and what would you say to America during that time with their partners, and how
So is this, in the entrepreneurial journey, are you both on an entrepreneurial journey? Like who is, or is the...
Well, I put the figure into because I was like,
Don't worry, I didn't either when I was making all the planning. I didn't at all. Yeah.
my perspective, I just want to know how I can best support.
Yeah.
And so that it's different role, like
How you can best support.
Yeah. So I think the hardest thing in a couple is when you both don't see this the same. It's really difficult. And I actually think it is really important very, very early on to have a lot of these conversations and to be really honest and open about it. I couldn't have done anything I've done without Michael being the human that he is. He's brilliant. And we have gone in, we've kind of, whilst we've existed quite symbiotically next to each other, we've also, there have been times in our life together where he's been the force, you know, his career has been the priority and I've been more supportive, and then there's others where my career has been at the forefront and he's been more supportive. But without that common understanding at the beginning and that honesty and that openness and constant recalibration, we could absolutely not have done it. So I think the support bit is just about being honest and open and having those difficult conversations before it happens, as it's happening, after it's happened. As painful sometimes as they are, it's like, that clearly didn't work, did it? What can we do differently next time? And actually, I felt too much put in a corner there. I think you're taking me for granted, whatever, but it's a difficult conversation. And you together learn the different roles and the different needs that you both have. You know, I've got one of my best friends is a stay-at-home mom. She could not be happier. Her husband is all career, has absolutely nothing to do with the home. He could not be happier. That works perfectly for them. That's my idea of hell. And you know, she's one of my best friends. She's really, really, really happy in that. So is he. Michael and I couldn't exist like that because we both have the same ambition. So I think it's being really honest and open about it at the beginning. And I think as you go into business and if you have your own business, understanding where the levers are in that, because there are going to be times where it's actually going to be really tough and you're not going to be present at something that you really wanted to be present at, and what does that mean? And we actually found the balance worked for us is if I couldn't be there or if Michael couldn't be there, we always made sure one of us could be to the really important things. We both tried to be as much as is humanly possible, but both of us went through certainly that young, as they were really young, sort of 0 to puberty really, 13, 14, during that period, we really prioritised family and still do. And I think that helped because that formed the narrative between us and the kids. And the other thing we did with the kids was take them on the journey. So very open. They understand the ups and the downs, the wins, the challenges, the decisions. You know, they've kind of learned as we've gone through life and the decisions that we've made. And, you know, who knows, you'll never know whether or not you got it right as a parent. I think our job is to just not mess it up too badly. And, you know, but that definitely helped our family dynamic when certain decisions had to be made, is that even from a really young age, the kids understood and either came with us or, you know, but was certainly part of it. But yeah, openness, I think.
I was just about to ask how, because we've got 4 kids, are you bringing them to work? Or are you sitting them down and explaining business to them? Is that what you do?
Both, actually.
Really?
Yeah, both.
Love that.
Yeah, they're not really that interested at the moment now. They've
got
a little bit older,
Yeah.
yeah. Although they work in our bars and stuff. They've all got jobs, yeah.
That's
If they, wherever they can. But yeah, a couple of them are really interested in sort of the strategic decision making, and how investments are made, and what does great look like, basically, return on investment, etc. So a couple of them are really interested in that, but they're not really there. Off playing basketball, doing whatever they're doing.
Teenagers, yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, for me, for us, it was definitely the honesty. And if I'm being honest, Michael was a lot better at that than me. It is a learning for me to be that open all the time. But it really worked.
Class, love it. Could we all give Sarah a huge round of applause, please? That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great, thank you. That was great. Thank you so much.